We are ready.
All right. Go live in three, two. Hey guys, welcome to episode 161 of the League of Legends Anonymous podcast. I'm your host, Sam, aka Just Casual. Here I have with me Alec, aka Wormlax.
What up, guys?
Yo, and it is just us two for tonight. I promised an episode recorded. Actually, I don't know if I promised, but I said there'd be an episode recorded on Thursday. Again, technical difficulties. It didn't get done. So I think they're recording this Thursday, and I'm not going to say that it's going to happen. But we are recording today on Tuesday, and hopefully we'll get a second episode recorded later today. But I'm here with Alec, and we are going to be talking about the recent tournament that we had. So Alec and I were part of the cast, the shoutcasting group, I guess, for it. And if you guys weren't aware, we had a community tournament where we had, what, 3 teams?
Yeah, we had three teams.
Yeah, 3 teams. 3 teams participating. A lot of fun. A long, long day. It was like 6 hours or 7 hours of games. It was ridiculous. But
hmm
after shoutcasting the majority of those games, uh, I decided that we should talk about them because we saw a lot of common things that were happening in each of the games, and I thought it'd be really useful to discuss those.
Yeah, I definitely like watching it and like playing. I'm starting to, with being on the podcast, start to realize like get out of my own head as far as like knowledge and like things that I think in my head are just like common knowledge. It's like, oh, people, not as many people think about these as thought did. So it's like,
Uh-huh.
and to actually see that play through a lot of games that were probably like silver to gold range mostly elo wise. It's
Hmm.
like, oh wow, like even at like these people, like there's certain things they don't think about that I thought were just a common knowledge that we can definitely touch on and should help people out.
Yeah, absolutely. And uh, forewarning and apology. I am still getting over my cold. I still have a cough. So I have a cough drop in my mouth. So hopefully I don't cough in the mic. I have my finger on the mute button, and yeah, I'm sorry if you guys hear like cough drop rattling in my mouth. I'll do my best to avoid that because I know that totally sucks. But I wanted to definitely record this episode, so uh, we'll
God,
see. We'll see how
you
this
couldn't
goes.
just make yourself not sick? Come on, Sam. Just you have to believe hard enough, and then you just won't be sick. You know, that's how it works.
Yeah, you're right, and I just
Mhm.
don't have the willpower. I'm just a weak-minded person.
Man.
I'm sorry. Too much tilt and solo queue. So anyway, so we have a list of things that we'll go over. We'll see how many we can cover in this episode. First thing we want to talk about is unnecessary flashes. Do you want to take this one real quick?
Yeah. So unnecessary flashing. We saw a lot in the games that people were using flashes. I mean, it speaks for itself. Unnecessary. They were using them unnecessarily. They were in a situation where they felt like they were in danger, but honestly, they weren't. The biggest case I saw for this, I think, in the very first game, which is on YouTube. Go check out the Lola Podcast YouTube because they're all on there. The very first game, a it was either Ari or Nivea, because it was Ari and Nivea matchup in mid. One of them flashed away from the other after their full spell rotation was already out. So there
Mm-hmm.
was nothing for the other champion to use to kill that person. So it's sometimes you get hit by a ton of abilities and you're really low and you're like, oh crap, I need to get out of here. But make sure you pay attention to spell rotations because, especially in a mage matchup, they're not going to be able to kill you if all their abilities are down. If even when it feels like, oh crap, they just bursted me really hard, I need to get out of this situation. Like, if they have no more abilities left or they don't have any mana, like it doesn't matter how low you are after that burst. Like if you're still at a quarter health, yeah, if they had abilities, they might be able to kill you, but they don't at this second. So take the time to walk away and save that flash rather than panic flashing.
Yeah, and we definitely don't want this episode to sound like we're just like um, bashing on our community and like mistakes that are happening because everyone makes these kind of mistakes. We just want to make sure that they're brought up to light, so you just kind of hopefully you guys by us talking about it, you guys will think about it a little more and just like kind of realize things that you can change in your gameplay. Because if you're going up against a mage that you've never played against, let's say you're a newer player,
hmm
you just don't know what's gonna happen, right? If you're against a Cassiopeia, you have to flash away, like because her spell rotation doesn't end. It just keeps like it's a
Yeah,
spam. She's like a machine gun mage, right? Kind of like Rise too. But
right.
like if you have a Lux and she misses her bind or she hits her bind, hits her full combo, all of her spells, and you still are living with like quarter health, like you said. She has nothing else to do except smack you a few times, and she has to wait about maybe anywhere between like 5 to like 8 seconds to get another spell out. So you don't need to flash away. Now, if you're under turret, that's a different story. If there's like a jungler coming in to gank you, those are all reasons that you can be flashing. But yeah, we saw a lot of people flashing unnecessarily. Another instance I saw of this was during turret dives. After you like turret switches aggro on you and you're full health, people like flash away right away when they actually can take maybe like two or more turret shots. And I think what I'm seeing from all of these unnecessary flashes, or most of them, are just like people panicking.
Yeah.
And I don't really know how you fix that except just if possible, just kind of visualize or kind of as how the situation might turn out beforehand. Like, okay, we're turret diving. Um this person's gonna tank, and when it comes on to me and we have to dive far, then I might have to flash away if I'm like at half health and I'm taking another turret shot, right? And if you think about this beforehand, it actually helps you prepare for if the situation happens. Otherwise, yeah, if you're not familiar with the situation, you might panic a little more. So that's one way to kind of deal with those panic situations. I don't know. Do you have any other suggestions for that?
Yeah, the panic is definitely a big thing. One thing I want to say just before we move on with the like we're talking about mistakes that people are making in a tournament that happened, and you may like if you recognize that we're talking about you, know that we're not trying to bash you, and we're trying to give constructive criticism. And
Mm-hmm.
because you could go and watch one of my ranked games as a diamond player and pick out like 20 to 30 errors, I bet, and tell
And some of the
like
same errors that are in your game too.
exactly. So don't feel like we're trying to like act like we're better than you or anything, or that like we're just bashing you for playing bad. These are just mistakes that we can learn from.
Yeah,
So
especially I think a lot of these are simple to fix. So if you are able to change these, I think this will like be a really easy low hanging fruit to deal with and improving your gameplay.
yeah, being open to changes to your gameplay and open criticism, because this is the best kind of like situation you can be in where people will go over your game and tell you something you did wrong. Like that's like you have to look at it objectively, because if you open your mind up to that and say, "Oh, okay," and you start like being mindful of it in game, it can change like your game really fast and really help you improve really fast.
Yeah. Another thing I wanted to talk about with flashes before I moved on actually was I think the majority of flashes I saw were defensive flashes. You know, a lot of people flashing away, maybe necessarily or unnecessarily, but it was mostly defensive. I didn't see really a lot of aggressive flash plays on people, and uh, I was surprised to see that. I thought people would be greedy and maybe it was nerves of the tournament or something, but um yeah, don't forget flash can be used very offensively, especially if you know like we have the person. Don't be afraid to flash forward to make sure like your Gragas body slam hits or like your Sejuani ult like that you could gain more distance on it and those kind of things. Don't be afraid to aggressively flash rather than just waiting to use it defensively.
Yeah, I think part of that is the like tournament nerves. You know, you put tournament stick on anything, and people are gonna want to win a little bit more, so they play a little more cautious. But that is very true that like people hold their flash for defensive a lot, and it's like it only makes one play. You know, don't it only has a cooldown. Like don't be so scared to hold on to it and not make that play, because that one kill might end up like snowballing into other things. So that flash is only one summoner spell, so make use of it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And if you have all those nice masteries or cooldown boots, like that flash is like 3 minutes. It's like no big deal.
Yep.
All right. So another point we want to talk about. One thing that I saw from a few people, and again, we understand it's a tournament environment. People might not be playing their main roles and stuff like that. But I especially want you guys to realize this when you're going into your ranked games and solo queue games when you get to pick your champion. I realized there was a lot of lack of understanding on how to play a champion, right? We saw a few main, like I know that they made champions, and I was like, they're not doing their combo rotation right, or like, oh, they're not building correctly, or they didn't realize how long or yeah the length of that CC, like a thresh hook was and stuff like that. So I realized that people, I think, are playing champions that they're like comfortable with and enjoy playing, and just because they play like 50 games on it or 20 games on it, they feel like they know the champion, when there was pretty obvious tells that they were missing some understanding about how the champion plays or how they should be using that champion.
Yeah, I definitely think that people like it's definitely understandable that you don't know every single champion in League of Legends. There's so many of them, and they all have
Mm-hmm.
like 5 or 6 different things that you need to know about them. More than that in depth, but 5 or 6 major things. But
Yeah.
if you're actually playing that champ and you're mating them, like it it makes a huge difference to learn those little nuances that really add to your like how you're playing the champion. Like something that's really elevated my game this season was on Renekton finally like getting into the really complex animation canceling with Renekton. Like if you're minting a champion, that's the kind of stuff you do need to look up a little bit if you really want to take them to the next level because like it the difference on Renekton animation canceling with your auto attacks and things like that is about 300 to 400 auto attack damage in a
Holy
fight.
moly.
So it's like that's the whole difference of killing and winning a fight. You know that's what makes the difference when a jungler comes to gank me in top lane and I end up killing both the jungle and the top lane before I die. So definitely don't underestimate the small things because the small things add up really fast.
Yeah, and I think something like this is actually really, really easy to pick up on because of a site called YouTube.
Yeah.
Like you really could find like just Google like how to play Renekton or how to or like Syndra guide, and then you'll realize like, oh, you can, there's a auto attack animation cancel for this champion, or it's like, oh, you can actually use one thing that we saw was Gragas trying to body slam and then using the ult afterwards. There was a patch some time ago where before the ult, you would do that. Body slam into them and ult immediately because the ult travel time for a short ult was pretty much immediate.
Mhm.
Now there's a travel time no matter how long the length of the barrel that you're shooting is. So what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to, while you body slam, you can actually throw your ult, and
Mhm.
that's what people have to do now. And maybe they didn't pick up on that, or maybe they just didn't know that existed. So that's how you're supposed to actually play it, to always hit your ult as long as you time things correctly. And that's like one thing that you wouldn't really figure out on your own unless you're like playing around and you kind of like realize you can do this, or you are you're watching LCS, or you just watch a video and someone tells you like, these are how you do your Gragas combos. YouTube is a really, really easy place to do this. And then excuse me. And then you just like watch a Fox drop stream or two, or like watch
Mhm.
whatever your favorite streamer play that champion like 3 times, and you can learn like nuances about like, oh, I didn't realize that that's a ganking path you can use on this champion. Or it's like, oh, I didn't realize that uh you want to be closer to the left side of the lane because of these X amount of reasons or something like that. Like you learn these small nuances from people that are really experienced playing the champion, and it really doesn't take that much time and effort to find like every bit of information you can about how to play a champion.
Yeah, the way that I learned like small nuances the fastest is I watch like a lot of YouTubers that do like in-depth like champion guides. Like one that I watch is his name is Mid Beast. He's an Australian challenger player and he plays mid, obviously Mid Beast. But
Mm-hmm.
he's done a lot of 3 minute like short videos on champions, and every once in a while he'll talk about like, oh, here's a little mechanic that like you might not know of, and it's like almost always on those I'm like, oh crap, I didn't know you could combo like that. And then the other part of that is, well, it's kind of hard to practice some of these things on a regular basis. If you go and
Yeah.
watch a pro streamer or, any kind of person who's higher ranked than you who will play those champions that you want to play, look for them doing those little things because they won't necessarily talk about those little things because they're second nature to them. So it's like they won't go, oh, see here I did exactly this. That's why like this combo worked so well because they're
Hmm.
second nature to them. Go and watch them and look for those like combos and stuff like that after watching a tutorial video and say, oh, that's how you put that into practice. That's how that comes into play. Like that's where the pro player puts that like insane combo that you were like, where am I going to use this? Well, here's a pro player giving you an example because they play so often, they're going to run into it.
Yeah, there's an example that I think of a lot. Like Caitlyn as an AD carry. You know, Caitlyn's nice because she has a gap closer or an escape, and she's super long range. So it's like, okay, so she's really long range. You're able to farm super easily and safely. It's like, actually, that's not where she's strong. Because she has such a long range, she can actually harass the enemy like bot lane, and then you don't let them farm. And that's why she's super strong. Otherwise, she gets outscaled really easily and stuff like that. And unless you really grab that knowledge from hearing someone say it and show you how it's done, uh, you are missing out on a huge part of that champion's kit.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, the other thing with Caitlyn, like the like the E trap Q combo that you can do that shoots your Q out
Mm-hmm.
while you're netting backwards and puts a trap under them. Uh, I had no idea how to do it, but I saw a YouTuber do it. I looked up a video that was more in depth on like how to actually do it, and then I went into practice tool and tried it a couple times so I could do it consistently. Now I've killed multiple people. You can catch people off guard with like a half health chunk in bot lane by using that combo. And
Yeah.
but you have to be willing to put in those time with those little like we're talking more about like in depth like mechanics like those kind of things you do have to put some time in. Like you have to be willing to try it and fail a couple times because you will. I don't know how many times I've netted backwards and my Q goes nowhere on Caitlyn, or oh I put the trap down but I didn't net that time. Like just stupid stuff like that. You have to try it. You have to give it a chance.
Yeah. But that's a great thing about League of Legends now. We have practice tools. So it really does like there's a
Yep.
few like really difficult mechanics, right? Like, the excuse me, the Renekton like auto attack animation canceling. That's not the easiest thing ever. Um Learning how to do Gragas's full combo is not that easy either. But there's some things that are really small that are easy. Like learning that Caitlyn combo is actually like you go into practice so you're like, I don't get how to do this, and then you figure it out after like 2 minutes, and you're like, oh, and then you can do it like at 50% success rate. It's on games, and then you'll get better and better. Like it
Mhm.
really doesn't take a lot of time for some of these little small things that really help your gameplay to actually like get it inherent into your gameplay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Should we jump to the next one? Next point?
Yeah, for sure.
Poor itemization choices. Oh my goodness.
So this is really easy to answer. Probuilds.com. Watch YouTube for people playing. Pro Builds is my go-to. Even like me, a diamond player, when I'm playing the champion, I don't play as much. Or like MF, someone like Misfortune, who like they've switched from lethality to crit like multiple times. It's like, okay, what are the pros building right now? Because most of the time, the guys who are playing this game 12 hours a day, having analysts check what the best builds are, and are literally getting paid to do this, they're gonna have the best builds. Like, there's a reason they're at the top, and there's a reason that metas are made around the pro scene. So pro
Yep.
builds is always don't use mobile fire. You're gonna run into some shitty builds on there. Just don't like. There might be some other ones out there that are better with like I think op.gg has some pretty good builds on them because they take from like directly okay what do people have the best success rate on as of recently,
Mhm.
but be really careful with any other sites that don't like boast like hey here's this pro player who made this guide. Like if you're getting hey I'm a plat player and I'm using this one, like yeah you can get to plat or diamond with any build. Like that sounds insane but you can. Like there's a lot of like cheese stuff you can do and still make it to higher elo, but the pros and the challenger players, those are the people that they couldn't get there on some ridiculous build. They have to use what's working the best.
Yeah. And it's interesting because the thing that sparked me of writing this down on my notes when I was watching was actually I think a player that knew what they're doing and they were actually changing up their build based off of whatever reasons they had, which I was like very proud to see because like they took off the core builds, but they didn't build like bad items. But the
Mhm.
problem was that I kept seeing them run out of mana in every trade, and every time they got ganked, they had no mana, and they're like, this champion is kind of mana intensive, and I think they were against like a wave clearing champion too. So it's like you need a Morellonomicon, or you need like something, a tier or something in your build instead of building straight AP. And like that was really painful. And uh one of the teams, Playground Predators, oh god.
Lamau.
Oh no, it wasn't. Yeah, it was them.
Yeah.
They kept playing 5 AD champions.
Mhm.
And we're like, this is never. Aiden was like dying because like this makes no sense. Their team comp doesn't make sense, and they're so easy to counter. You could have easily replaced like any of these three champions with like just a decent AP mage. But then the enemy team didn't build like armor as fast as they should have, and they lost a lot of actually a lot of the teams that played against this team lost a lot of games, and they weren't building like armor, like first defensive item or second defensive item. Like all they needed to build was armor. They could have even foregone like, I want more AP. Maybe I should just actually build his Seekers and his Zonias, even though I really want to get like a Rabadon. And that
Yeah.
would have been so much more beneficial just because they are all AD. So you're negating 5 people's damage with that one item. It's super, super efficient versus the extra damage you'll deal to like 1 or 2 people.
Yeah. One thing one of my friends says that sounds stupid, but actually is true. It's like you don't do any damage if you're dead. Like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so, like, yeah, it might suck to be like, oh, if I go for like a defensive item here on like an 80 carrier or mage, like I'm gonna lose out on so much damage. But you know when else you're gonna lose out on damage is if you're on gray screen and you're not playing the game. So like, yeah, it might suck. Like, and that's why like take Tank Vayne and Tank Katarina have been played in to reasonable success because uh, at the end of the day, if you end up surviving for a long time and you get like a decent amount of damage out, even if it's not the best, if you're still alive at the end of the day, then you're still there to do more damage. So it's like,
You get more resets.
yeah. So like, don't underestimate the power of just being alive. Like that, the second you're alive, like 30 seconds longer than you would have been without the defensive item, that already surpasses, like, that can surpass damage wise what item you would have bought instead of the defensive one. Like, even
Absolutely.
so, like, if you want to look at it analytically, not just like thinking, oh, living longer means more damage, like, if you're alive for 30 seconds dealing 100 damage more, that's 100 damage a second, that's 3,000 damage you're dealing out that you would have missed out on, even if you were dealing 200 damage before that per auto, but you only survived 10 seconds, so it's only 2,000. So you were
Yep.
dealing less damage by 100, but you still dealt less damage overall.
Yep. So itemization, I think, is really, really hard. It's probably one of the hardest things that we're gonna be that's on this list. But getting like 40% of the way there in proficiency is really easy because again, pro
Mm.
builds, and then thinking a little bit about your build and knowing like what your champion's core build is
Yeah,
from pro builds or op.gg. It's really simple.
I think the biggest thing is just being aware of what is like what items are good on your champion, and then using critical thinking in game to decide what you want to build at that time. Like, you don't want to, like, certain champions like 80 carries and mages, it's like you're trying to hit power spikes, so it's easier to just follow one build. But you really
Hmm.
need to
Hmm.
be aware of what other people are building and like what other champions you're playing against. Don't be a slave to whatever. Even on pro builds, that pro player built their build that game that you're looking at for the game they were in. So like, be conscious of that kind of stuff, and even if you're just thinking about it and you've looked at a couple guides, it'll do that much better every game.
Yeah. Cool. The next point we have playing towards your win condition. Oh my goodness. We saw so many throws and so many teams that like should not team comp wise should not have won purely because people didn't. I don't think people identified what their win condition is, or they just didn't play towards it.
Mhm.
Um, for example, that all AD comp had like people that scaled, people that didn't team fight, people that uh I don't know, it just made no sense. I can't even remember it because it was so
Well,
random
it was
stuff.
like a full AD team that their best bet for like damage in a team fight was like Gangplank. So it's like
Hmm.
they were if they had to team fight on like a regular basis, they were gonna have to be relying, or if it got to late game where the other team had a decent amount of armor, they would have had been relying on a giant Gangplank chain to get their damage off, which
Hmm.
is an insanely hard thing to rely on. So, but the enemy team kept like getting caught out and like losing early and not straight up team fighting, so it never came to that. If they
But then it was, go ahead, go ahead.
if the other team had like played around some of these things, played for late game, like okay, now we've got like two armor items on our tank, like some of our even our damage dealers are getting some armor items. Now we can team fight, and now they're completely relying on this insane possibility to win a team fight.
And it was funny because like the other team had like yeah, straight up like 5-man team fight comp, right?
Mhm.
And they were down like 8K, and then they got a 5v5 fight, and they just slaughtered the team fighting comp, just slaughtered them, even though they're behind that far, solely because that fight that they won was based off of their win condition and team comp, right?
Yeah.
So it was just crazy to see that like all they might have needed to do was just like group five and force a Baron, or group five and just ARAM it down mid or whatever, you know? And if they did that, the other team would group to do that against their own will, and then they would lose that fight. And what ended up happening was like they would get caught out one by one, like you said. And the other team, the incohesive team, or the really random team comp, just like won just purely out of lots of gold and probably some outplays and misplays by the enemy team.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think it's really important to, in a coordinated game, hopefully everyone's getting their main roles, they're playing their main champions, and they're putting together a cohesive team comp. I know that doesn't happen, especially in solo queue, it doesn't really happen.
Mhm.
But once you figure out your team, all those champions are picked, you need to start thinking like, what does the enemy team need to do to win, and what do we need to do to win, right? And if you realize like, oh, we have a really crappy team fight comp, but they have like a wombo combo team, we never group as five, you know?
Mhm.
Someone is always split pushing the top lane while we're doing dragon, or we're always 1-3-1, or we're always making sure we have the objectives when they're not paying attention because we can't fight at objectives and stuff like that. So you gotta, and if you play towards a team comp, or even if you communicate it to your teams in solo queue, be like, hey, we can't fight, don't fight, let Singe push and we push the opposite lane he's in. Like people will listen. Some people will listen because sometimes people are just looking for direction because they don't know what to do, right? And I
Yeah.
think that happened in these games a lot of times too. Again, I'm only speculating. I felt like there was a lot of times where I was like, the team is not on the same page, and
Yeah.
therefore they were like not. People were getting caught out, or they were like, some people were like re-engaging fights where people were backing, and just like weird things that like as an observer that was able to see the whole game and not like stressed out playing it, it was really head scratching a lot of these things. And I ultimately it was like communication and people not realizing how they're supposed to win this game.
Yeah, it definitely like it comes down to again like being conscious, like don't be when you go into solo queue, like to take this into solo queue, don't be that person that you're looking through Facebook or watching a YouTube video as champ select is coming through and you're just kind of like autopiloting, and then when the game finally loads up, that's when you finally pay attention. Like look in champ select, okay, what are they picking, like what are their win conditions, like okay, they just picked a Yasuo and he's going mid, like that Yasuo is going to need gold and he's going to need items to get to his 3 item power spike. So if we focus him early and bring him down, like we can win this game before he even gets a chance to do anything. Like little things
Yeah.
like that, and especially in solo queue, it can be taking down one win condition for the team that wins you the entire game. Like if you camp a Yasuo who needs to get to late game and bring him down, and he's a huge detriment to his team, that can win you the game right there. Or like
Yeah. Mhm.
uh it's just but you just have to think about these things before the game. Like if you just a lot of people just you get in the game, you go to lane, you do your laning phase, and you're just like not really thinking about it. And before too long, like your other teammates aren't doing as well, and like you're behind. It's like, oh crap, like I couldn't do anything this game. Well, it's like, well, if you would have looked at champ select before, even as like the top laner, wow, if my mid lane gets ahead, we will just crush this game. I'm gonna roam to mid multiple times early game. So like thinking about things like that to be proactive before the game even starts, so that you're not getting those games where it's like, oh, like people are just dying, we're just slowly getting bled out and losing.
Yeah. One example I can think of is one example I could think of is the AD carry was super fed, and it was like the main damage dealer was the AD carry, and then the only time they lost a team fight was when the AD carry got picked off first or didn't get the peel that he needed, or they just were playing way too aggressive. If you're the enemy team, you just realize like, hey, we need to get behind the team and get to the AD carry. That's all we need to do. Like Maokai just needs to hit a root, and then the rest of the team can just flash forward and kill them, right? Or if you're playing the AD
Mhm.
carry, you need to be like, hey, there is absolutely no reason why I need to be in the front of the line, because if I get caught, we lose this game. Like straight up, I know once we're caught, we
Mhm.
lose. So you have to realize like that's a win condition, and that means that you play differently, or uh, your team plays around you, or just whatever it means. And that's the one example that I remember, especially remember from that game, because the AD carry got caught out like 3 times in a row, but then once he had the peel, or once he stopped like being frontline, they won the team fight and like won the game or something like that. So
Yeah,
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 it's
I remember
really
that
really.
as well. And yeah, that's the same thing with, you do way more damage when you're alive than you are dead. And it's like, yeah, it might suck to like sit behind your entire team and not really get the poke out, but like people care way too much sometimes about like poking and like prodding at the start of team fights. It's like you should really be way back and not be in those situations where that you can get caught out because it's just not worth it.
Yep, yep. All right, so the next thing we have on the dock is poor objectives, poor objective prioritization, poor objective prioritizing after kills. Holy moly,
Made it through.
that is, I got it, I got it, guys. um, yeah, do you want to talk about this one?
Yeah, so we saw it a lot where like people would get kills and not everyone would be focused on the same objective. Like they wouldn't have you just wouldn't have a good direction on what to do next. The one I can think of the most, the very first game, um, I can't remember the team names, but it was blue team uh, had got four versus two in bot lane, so they died and they were gonna lose their turret. But red team kept their composure and or wait, I messed up. Whichever one team in bot lane went with four people, and they were gonna take the bottom lane turret. The other team still had their mid laner in mid and their jungle and top lane.
Mm-hmm.
The team that took got the two kills in bottom had people back before taking the turret, so they weren't doing any damage to the turret, and they ended up losing out first turret blood to the top and
Oh, that's
jungle.
right. I remember
And
that.
then also right after the mid laner took the mid turret. So they ended up only getting a couple kills up, and they lost two turrets and the first turret gold. So they probably actually I'm really bad with like gold math, but they probably lost out gold on that trade, and it was all because I think like the jungler and top lane like started backing earlier than they should have, and you have to be cohesive and like if you're going for that bot lane play, commit to it. Like you got those kills, stay, take that turret. You had two kills in the bottom lane and you could see their mid, jungle, and top laner in other lanes. So even those people that are low and they feel like, oh, I can't really stay here, you got to stay and take that turret because that first turret gold means a lot and you have to be committed to the call because then too the mid lane turret actually went down quite a while after. If they had all
Hmm.
stayed and gotten that turret faster, someone else could have peeled back to mid and probably saved a turret. So then they would only trade 1-for-1 turret wise and had gotten the first blood turret. So that made
Yeah.
that play worth.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to kind of like run down really quick, like priorities. Obviously, first is the Nexus. You know, when you're at the Nexus, hit the damn Nexus. I was in a game yesterday where like we almost lost because they stopped hitting the Nexus trying to get the kills, and then everyone respawned, and it was like, oh my god, hit the Nexus, hit the okay, we got it. Woo, that was close. You know, it was terrifying, absolutely terrifying. Excuse me. Um, but yeah, so you're going for Nexuses first, right? And then after that, you're probably going for Nexus turrets, inhibitors, and then those base turrets. And then I would say from there, uh, Baron whenever it's up, especially after like 45 minutes. Um, or if you have a team that could really take Baron quickly, or if the enemy team can take Baron really quickly, you have to make sure it's always warded because Baron's a huge game changer and lets you push harder. Baron can also help you crack those inhibitor turrets if you can't get into the base. Then
Hmm.
after that, I would say like dragons and mid tier turrets can be the same value depending on which dragon and the time of the game it is. And
Yeah,
then
first blood
auto
turret.
turrets,
First blood
yeah,
turret
first
probably
blood turrets.
takes priority even over dragons, except maybe Infernal, depending.
Mm-hmm. Or depending on your team comp, maybe. Yeah, first turret's really, really important. So yeah, if I'm thinking about this, I would go, how can I get first turret? Like that's the first thing that's on my mind. How can I get first turret? And sometimes that means you don't have to kill them, right? Sometimes it means like they keep staying at like 100 health, and if they just stay there, you can just bully them under the turret. You can keep hitting the turret, and you don't need to kill them. And you can take first blood, or you can take the first turret really easily because they should come back to lane so they can at least fight and defend that turret, right? So
Hmm.
sometimes you don't need that kill to get these objectives or win the game. Um, After that, you're looking for like maybe first blood. You know, that's kind of important. And first blood can lead to first turret.
Yeah.
First blood can also lead to dragons. But after that first turret goes down, I would even think about, can we take dragon or can we rotate to another lane to help and get a kill for the purpose, get a kill so you can get a turret or a dragon or a lot of damage on the turret. Not so you can get kills, but the kill leads to something else, right?
Yeah,
So if you win go ahead.
the big thing with the prioritization is the going that list that you stated off, like which is in order, like after you win a team fight, after you kill 2 to 3 people, that's where you want to go through that list in your head and decide, okay, what's next.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So another thing I'm thinking of, like, if you turret dive, you have 4 people on bot, and you take that first turret, like you rotate to dragon and then another turret. If you win a team fight, uh, let's think. If death timers are like 30 seconds and you can't get an inhibitor, just go take Baron. If you have enough health, go take Baron so you can back quickly so they can't do Baron. Oh, actually, that reminds me. Another thing that I everyone should always be aware of. If they're pushing after they like ace a team and they're pushing into their base, and then you want a team fight, everyone's low health, you take that inhibitor and you back, well, because everyone else is respawning. Always, like get off of base and go to Baron and get it warded because the enemy team should just rush Baron, especially if their inhibitor just went down. They actually have a cushion of time where super minions aren't going to be going into the base, where they
Hmm.
can actually sneak a Baron, go back, and then use that Baron buff to help push out their waves. So if you just survived a team fight and you backed while the enemy team is spawning, Baron should always be taken by the enemy team. So always be aware that that can happen. And if you're on the receiving side, go ahead and rush and get Baron if they didn't go get it.
Yeah, you should always be aware of Baron. I mean, Baron is so important, and it can really, like, if that team, like, after you get the inhib, it can stifle the advantage you just got if they get the Baron minions to hold your inhib take. So be aware
Yeah.
that Baron, and an example that we saw, like, during the games of, like, bad prioritization was, the team had won a team fight near bottom lane, and they were going to do dragon. They had 4 people doing dragon. Meanwhile, there was a huge wave on the enemy turret in bot lane too, but it
Mm-hmm.
still didn't end up taking that turret while 4 people were taking dragon. 4 people do not need to be taking dragon. They could have peeled one person off and take that turret, take the dragon, they all back at the same time after that. So make
Yeah.
sure that even though you like want to do things together, always like pay attention to the map and what else is going on. Don't tunnel vision because like if the rest of the team is dead, you don't have to worry about like being careful about your movement and stuff like that. Like that turret is wide open for the taking.
Yep. Yep. Cool. Next point we have stacking CC. Now this one is actually, I think this one was the most painful thing that I saw. Now that I think about it, we have a team comp with like an Ash, Sejuani, and like I can't remember, but maybe like a Blitz. So it's just like you grab one person, you just kill them, right? And I was like, this should be really easy. They just lead with an Ash arrow or Sejuani ult and stun, and then like a Blitz hook or something like that, right? But what I would see was Sejuani would go in, use her ult, and then nothing would follow that. And then later an Ash arrow would come down, hit someone different. Maybe it was a defensive Ash arrow, and then the Blitz hook would like miss. So then the way you want to deal with stacking CC is what I would try to plan for that situation is first everyone's communicating. So it's like, hey, I'm gonna Sejuani ult. What that is supposed to tell my team is like, get ready to hit your CC after I ult them. So Sejuani hits her ult, they're slowed, right? Right after she hits her ult, Ash follows up with the arrow, and then they're stunned. Meanwhile, while they're stunned, Sejuani can get her stun ready, get them stunned, and then Blitz would hook them after they get unstunned. That's
Mhm.
a dead person, right? They've been stunned or like CC'd for 3 seconds. There's no way they're getting out. That was
Mhm.
not done enough. I actually rarely saw that in any of the games, I think. Yeah, I can't think of a time where I saw that.
Yeah, it didn't happen very often, and stacking CC is so powerful because that's when you get the moments where you're sitting at your computer and you're like, I didn't even get a chance to do anything. I got hit by one thing and the rest piled on and I was just dead. And that's so powerful. It's like, and also, like with stacking CC and you want to like, oh, dump everything on one person. Don't like rush it too much because if the Sejuani hits her ult on someone and they're stunned, if you hit the Ash arrow right away, you just wasted some like the Ash arrow time. So like also
Mm-hmm.
be conscious of that. There's a window, but don't it's a fine line. Don't rush it, but also don't wait too long to let them get their flash out or anything like that. So that's
Yeah,
I'm
basically, if 3 people have a 1 second snare, but they all hit their snare at the same time, that snare lasts 1 second. If you have 3 people that hit their snare 1 second after each other, that snare lasts 3 seconds. That's basically what's going on there.
yeah.
And yeah, you don't want to give them the window to flash away. So maybe you stack the CC a little bit by like, even if you stacked it a half a second, that means it would last 1.5 seconds, or even 2 seconds if you stacked it a little better. You don't need
Yeah.
to get the full 3 seconds to kill someone potentially. The pros are really good at that because they're really good at this game.
Mhm.
Um, but you don't want to all stack your CC at the same time. Yeah, that's a big point.
Yeah, and this is also a tournament to solo queue kind of variance. If you're with voice comms on with everyone like we were in tournament play, it's like you can say, "All right, I'm Sejuani ulting right now," and Ash is like, "Okay, I'm ready to ult." Like after yours comes down, and Blitz is like, "All right, I'm ready to pull." Like once you guys use your CC, and like solo queue, the best thing you can do is just mad target ping someone. Like target ping whoever you're going on, target ping that person like 4 to 5 times, and then throw your CC at them. I do that
Yeah.
a lot when like I'm playing Renekton because like one of my strongest engage tools on Renekton is Flash W. It's unavoidable if you're not expecting it because I literally just flash and stun you immediately. But if your team's not paying attention, it happens fairly fast and they can jump out right after. So I need that follow-up CC from one of my teammates. So if I'm thinking of doing that, like especially like I might even type in chat, I'm going to flash W here, like or I'll ping my flash a couple times and then target ping the person I want to go on a couple times too.
Yeah.
So like use the communication available to you to really like hammer on like, hey, I'm going to do this. This is going to happen. Because the other thing is, even if it ends up not being the best call, if your team is on the same page and it catches the other team off guard, like it might work out anyways.
Yeah, and I also want to talk about who's supposed to throw out their CC first. And this is again complicated because you might not have that perfect communication, but in general, if you have a really hard CC to hit, let's say you're a Thresh trying to hit an Ezreal, like that Thresh hook's not gonna it's gonna be really hard to hit. And then once you miss it, you have to wait. And while you're waiting those 8 seconds, someone else might hit Ezreal with something, and now your whole like rotation of spells and stuff like that gets kind of thrown off. So if you have like a Maokai on your team, that Maokai should flash W on that Ezreal. So then the Ezreal is stuck for like half a second or a second. That means you will hit your hook as long as you don't miss it. If you
Mhm.
don't like just completely just flub it, you can hit that. So if you have a hard CC to hit, a difficult CC to hit, I should say. um, yeah, wait for your teammate to actually hit their easy CC, right? Like a Gragas flash body slam. Like that's really easy to hit, and then you can follow that up, right? A
Yeah.
Malphite ult is a lot easier to hit. So once Malphite ult hits, then you follow up with your difficult to hit CC. So think about that too. Who you should be waiting for, or if you're the person that needs to lead off the first skill shot.
Yeah, it's the same thing. I mean, it's a kind of win condition with CC. It's like, okay, how do I
Mm.
hit my CC? Like, in a team fight to win this game, we need to CC Master Yi so he doesn't kill our AD carry. Okay, if Master Yi goes in, he can dodge a thresh hook really easy, but I have Flay. So I'm going to Flay first and then go for my hook. Or okay, I have like you said, like a Maokai. Maokai is the easiest one to talk about. Maokai is W. Like he's gonna W him, then I'm gonna go for the hook, so he doesn't have a chance to dodge it. Or okay, I'm going to save my Q for when tries to use W to just like stay and heal in the fight and mitigate damage. So just like being conscientious of the different abilities that are in game, what cooldowns you have, and what will counter them. Like every champion has counters to different abilities, and CC is so important that like people will rush thing in team fights. So if you hold on to CC, like you don't want to hold on to it obviously for too long. You don't want to just hold it until oh my whole team's dead, but like people get antsy and waste things faster than like they should when you're holding your CC. So like don't rush things and go for like outlandish hooks because you might need that.
Sure. And actually this reminds me. I actually sometimes hate when Maokai's are on my because I've had this happen so much. Maokai W's and I'm like Lux, I'm like, I'm gonna laser them now. And then he cues them out of my laser. I'm like, no.
Yeah, you do.
It's the worst.
You do have to be careful with that arcane smash. He'll just like smash him out of the way, and you're like, oh, I've actually missed a lot of thresh hooks with doing that. Again, like my Malk, oh, he hit the W, throw it out, and
It's
then
a common thing that happens,
bam,
right?
yeah, then he smashes him out of the way, and it's like, oh,
Like,
well,
stop it, Maokai, stop it.
you
Use that after the CC hits, remember? Yeah,
yeah,
it's painful.
yeah. So if you
Yeah,
play
that one was
Maokai,
really painful.
save your Q.
There you go. All right. The next point I have is talking about mana usage. I saw so many times where people were like, "There's a team fight that's like about to happen, right? Everyone's like kind of in that ARAM situation, and you have maybe like half your mana, and you just kind of start throwing out spells just like to poke." And I'm like, "Stop it, stop it!
Yeah.
You need all that mana." And then what happens? The team fight finally happens, and your Rise doesn't have any mana to do anything. It's auto attacking with this like wimpy little lightning bolt, stuff like that. And then I also saw that again, like I talked about earlier, where it's like every time a gank happened, they had no mana to follow up, or they had no mana to defend themselves, and uh, it. It's
Yeah.
a difficult thing to be doing, but you should keep track of your mana, and also you should. Oh wow, I didn't realize my cost 80 mana out of my 300 mana pool. Maybe I shouldn't be just throwing it around in lane just to poke, maybe get some poke in. Or I should not be last hitting with it, you know?
Yeah, one thing that I have on in game that you should have on, everyone should, is there's a setting in your interface to show mana cost on your spells, like in a little number next to your abilities.
Mm-hmm.
And that's huge because like it's one thing to have to memorize every single mana cost, but it's one thing to look down and say, "Oh, Ezreal Q uses 31 mana. I have 40 right now. All right, I have enough for Q." Or, "Oh, Ezreal Arcane Shift costs 90 mana. I only have 85 right now. I need to play safe because even if I have it off cooldown right now, I can't even use it for that if that gank comes." So
Yeah, it's actually really something that I've done before that I probably should do now, which I kind of stopped doing. Maybe it's because I'm more familiar with just champions that I play, but I used to be like, "Hey, I'm playing Annie. I just need to deal 300 damage roughly to this person to kill them. Okay, that means I need to use my Q, my W, and R, and then like 2 auto attacks and like a ignite. How much mana do I have? Oh, I don't have enough mana. I need 150 mana. Okay, wait a little bit, get a few auto attack trades here, but like do not use mana. And then finally, it's like I have 250 mana or whatever I need. Flash, ignite, stun, and just blow the load, and I have enough mana because I already calculated it. And that's really easy when those mana numbers are right there on the spell box.
yep, yeah, you can add those together. You can go. The big one that I do with a lot is when I play AP Gragas because AP Gragas' full combo I think costs 250 mana, maybe something 200, but I'll add it up. I'll be like, okay, Q costs 40. Like I don't know, these aren't exact, but Q costs like 40. My E costs 50. My alt costs 100. Okay, that's 190 altogether, and I can kill with that. I have 160 right now. I need to farm some minions, let my Dorn ring do its thing, and give me some mana regen back.
Yeah.
So, like, actually being conscious of those things, because we saw in the league tournament, we saw an Ari ult in, and then have no mana for any other ability. So you just
It's the
like,
worst
yeah,
feeling.
you ult in and you just like stand there like, I can't do any other damage besides my ult. And Ari's ult really isn't about the damage it does. It's about the position it gives you to charm and use your Q and use your W. So like paying attention to those things because that gets you killed too. All of a sudden you are in as Ari and you've got no mana to do anything else. You get stunned, you die fast, and you're just sitting there looking like a fool with your pants down. And
With your pants on the ground.
yeah, it's like
Um,
it's just such an
I've
easy thing to look at your mana and pay attention to
so
that.
I've been learning to play Lulu recently, and I didn't realize how much mana like things cost. So I find myself running out of mana a lot, and it's always the worst feeling. And it's happened in every single game I played with Lulu, where we're turret diving or we're doing a big engagement or something, and then I go to press my alt on my 80 carry, and nothing happens because I used up all my mana trying to poke with a Q that does no damage anyway. When
Yep.
all I really need to do is shield, polymorph, and ult. That's all I need to do to win this team fight. And I use my Q 3 times in that team fight, and now I have no mana for my ult. It's the worst feeling ever, and it's something really, really so easily avoidable if you're just like aware that you need to be paying attention to your mana. That's it.
Yeah, to kind of reference a player unknown battlegrounds thing that makes sense here. In player unknown battlegrounds, they talk about with good players, their useful movement. I don't know if that's exact wording that they use all the time, but it's like the moves they make are always impactful to the game they're playing. They don't make them like play better players always make the movement their character is making always benefits them. They don't spend like a good player will have 90% of their movement always going towards something that benefit them, while a
Mm-hmm.
bad player might have like 40 to 50% of their movement benefiting them. The other, they're just doing it because I should be moving right now. So that makes a lot of sense with like mana usage in lane. Why am I using this ability right now? Why, like, what does it benefit for our team? Like, a lot of times you see it with like Thresh or Blitz. Like if I hit this hook right now, does it actually benefit my team? Like it might be like
Oh,
you get like the need to like, oh, I always need to be looking for a hook, but it's like, oh, I hit this Thresh hook, like we really can't engage right now, so I'm just gonna back off. And it's like, well, there goes 80 mana and the cooldown that you had. So that is now you just used a useless ability and mana and waste time. So you have to think about these things when you're trying to play, and this comes big time into mana usage because that, like you said, with Lulu using her Q besides like early game really falls off on damage. So unless you're specifically using it for the slow, you probably shouldn't be using it at all, just randomly, and that really drains your mana fast.
Yeah, and that's why most people level it last.
Yep, yep,
Yeah, I mean, I think about like spells and lane, right? Um, a Lux Q, for example, is something I think that it, I find very relatable as someone that's played a lot of Lux. I throw out a Q for no reason to get some damage down, but then it doesn't do anything if no one can follow up or if I can't chain it with anything else, right? If
yep,
I hit a Q on the front line Maokai, I'm not gonna just burst him down with it because I don't have enough damage to do it. And I'm not getting damage down because I'm not auto attacking and proccing that passive either. So what is the point of using my Q? It's to poke them, but if I save that mana to grab someone and then E them and auto attack them, or even just do my full combo, they could be dead if I saved it for the Vayne, right? Versus
yeah.
I'm using it, losing mana to do 100 damage to a tank. Like, doesn't matter, doesn't do anything, and for the next 10 seconds, I can't catch anyone anymore.
Yeah, and you even put yourself in danger too. Now all of a sudden you use that
Mm-hmm.
Q on the tank, and then Elysian hops over the brush, and you're like, oh shit, I have nothing to use against this guy. So also like it's, and you also need to be conscious if you do use something like that to back off farther. Like people will like, especially this is how you win lanes when you're behind goal. If people use their abilities, but then they still play up in lane like they have those abilities. And you can capitalize, their gold lead doesn't matter if they can't use their gold because they don't have abilities. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
paying attention to your ability cooldowns because you're half the champion you were 2 seconds ago before you used that ability.
Yeah, or like 0% of the champion you were.
Yeah, or 0%
You arrive
depending
with
on
no
how much.
mana.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, so we're almost done with this list. The last two, the second to last one we have is no pings. I saw like no pings. I think I saw 5 pings the entire tournament.
Yeah, I could attribute some of this to the fact that everyone's on voice comms, so you're calling stuff out more often than you are pinging it.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say even in voice comms, ping a lot because when you say, "Oh, Ari's roaming," or "Oh, Syndra's," whoever's roaming, "Oh, they're roaming from mid," "Oh, jungler is here," like, "Oh, I just saw jungler in bottom lane." If you ping right where that is, that'll immediately grab the person's attention. You might say,
And also, they don't hear you. They're busy trying to last hit or trade in lane. So you
"Yep,
have to be like, "Hey, Ari's coming. Ari's missing mid. Hey, top. Ping, ping, ping. They're
yep,
coming mid, or they're
yep."
coming top." Like, and they're like, "Oh, okay, thank you." Instead of being like, "Hmm, I told you once, really quietly, and you didn't hear it. Oh,
Yeah.
team, please come on," and be frustrated with them. Like, just man up and do the extra effort to like
Yeah.
let them know.
Hey guys. Hey, Ari is missing. Wow, why didn't you guys
Yeah.
see it? Why didn't you guys see that Ari was missing? I called it out. It's like, dude, you like whispered it while people are focusing intently on a game. So it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, that ping adds that extra like, guys, Ari is missing, missing ping. Guys, Ari is missing, missing ping towards the bottom lane. And you're like, the other thing I do a lot is missing ping in a line. So you see Ari go towards the bottom lane out of mid, I ping down the entire river, missing. So it's like that is a clear cut sign exactly where she's going to be headed.
Yeah. But I definitely think that even if you're in voice comms, there pings pings can help communicate. Something that I've done is I've been in voice comms with like the Lola team, and excuse me, someone's talking, right? Bot lane's like going through a trade and talking about something. But then like I'm the jungler going top lane about to gank, and I can't like talk over them. So I'm just like ping on my way like 3 times, or like ping the champion because people are talking. So I don't want to talk over them. So instead I'll ping over them.
Yeah.
Or I could ping the jungler route that I think they're taking. Or, oh, I think they're doing Baron, and ping it. Or like Mia's, because things are busy. People are talking. So pings are just another form of communication that doesn't really disrupt
Yeah.
voice comms.
Or the newest ping that you should have binded if you don't already is the enemy vision here ping. That one's great
People
and really underutilized.
people have been begging for that ping. for ages, and I never see anyone use it. I am always the first person to use that freaking ping, and I don't even use it that much. I'm like, we've been asking for something for so long and always complaining about things for Riot to do, and they're not doing this and not doing that, and they do it. No one uses it. I'm like, come
I
on, people.
I actually need a
Ugh.
slap on the wrist and a little hypocrisy because I just bound it yesterday for the first time. So
No,
I
it's
just
legit. You
started
bought it
using it.
yesterday, so you're good. You're off the
Yeah.
hook. Come
So,
on, guys, what's wrong with you?
yeah, come on. What are you guys doing?
All right, so our last point we have is level 1 invades. Okay, seriously, guys, if you've played in LOLA community games, you have to level 1 invade. I don't care if you have like no, they have all hook champions. You do a level 1 invade, or at least like get kind of scared and get vision of them. But seriously, in all seriousness, when you have like two people that have catch potential or three people that have catch potential, go into the enemy team. Like go into their jungle. I did see people come off the platform pretty quickly for the most part. And then they like line up in the river and they just chill. I'm like,
Yeah.
come on. Like you have the stronger level 1 team fight and maybe you have the stronger level 1 and maybe that's you don't know how to figure out who has a stronger level 1, but if you know you have it, um get into the river, realize how fast or how slow you got to the river, and that will tell you like, can I go to that pixel brush or not, right? Once you get to that pixel brush, or if you can't go into it, like drop a trinket ward, and then drop another trinket ward, and then drop another trinket ward, because you guys are in voice comms. This is okay. And most likely in solo queue, if you can get three people to actually invade, most likely you're gonna burn a flash. Even all right, most likely you're gonna get first blood, and if not, at least you're gonna get a flash, right? It's just
Yeah.
so easy to do it, especially if you have like a Lux Q or a Blitzcrank or a Thresh or a Zyra that can throw out an E. Anyone that can hit like a hard CC, or if you have like three soft CCs, like that is so easy to get first blood.
Yeah, the other big thing is like you said with like even if the other champion team has like two hook champions, like literally even if they do, even go like sit in the jungle like the pixel bush in river before they get there, and then when that Blitzcrank walks in first and his hook only pulls you from 2 millimeters, it doesn't matter. You just kill that one guy as he's walking in, and like
Yeah, you might. Yeah.
that catches people off guard all the time. Like doing the counter invade, they're like all of a sudden they're like, "Oh shit, our blitz is dead. It's 45 now." Like, wait, what the heck? And then you caught them off guard. So it's like being proactive as like a five-man team, especially if you're in a environment where you can talk to every single person that's there. It's like, hey, let's even if we all just go together like at the same time, like you'll get so much off of that.
Absolutely. And so let me ask you this. I have a very simple answer on how I figure this out, but how do you realize if who has a better level 1 potential?
It's all about hard CC. Hard CC wins early game because every champion does good damage early game, like with even with just auto attacks. So I always look for okay, they have a blitz this game. If you get pulled in by that blitz out of position, you're dead or you're blowing a flash. So,
Hmm.
and it also depends on. I think you said you had a simple answer for this, but it depends on like what abilities would these champions take early? Like this champion, even though they have hard CC, they're not gonna take that ability early. So I'm gonna go after them level 1 while they're caught off guard without it.
Actually, that's a really good point because a lot of people, and no one should be doing this to the podcast unless you're playing Azir. You should not level up your ability until you get into lane or until you're about to use it.
Unless you're
Because
Blitzcrank, then always take Q first.
yeah, you're supposed to always take Q first. Like there's no actually the only time actually I take that back. If there's like a thresh and you get hooked by the thresh, maybe you want to take your W so you can hurry up and get your ass out of there so you can flash over that. Huh?
Maybe, but if you screw up with
Maybe.
your W, like you could run way faster, but then slow yourself, and then they catch up to you again, and then you're just screwed anyways. So you have to be
Yeah.
careful with that slow, because it's a burst of speed, and that if you get caught still after.
But yeah, really though, you never know what happens in. Oh my God, excuse me. You never know what's gonna happen during the level 1. So you might need to like grab grab a spell you don't want to get, right? I always start E with Lux, but every now and then when I see an invade and my stupid like uh teammate isn't paying attention and they start moving slowly, sometimes I just level up Q so I can get a bind so that I can make sure that they don't have to blow a flash or they don't get hooked or they don't get caught.
Yep.
So and hopefully you're quick on leveling up your abilities like with the keyboard shortcuts. So it'll be really, really quick and easy to do if you find yourself in that predicament.
Yep.
But
Uh,
yeah, my quick and easy answer to this was just like counting the hard CC. If they have 3 and I have 2, then they're stronger. But then I'm
yep.
like, they're not all gonna be there or whatever, because that that
They're not
Maokai is gonna be in the
expecting
top
it.
lane anyway or something. Yeah, they're not gonna be down here. So then if I see like a 2 versus 3 when it comes to hard CC, I'm like, that's probably even. So I'll go for it because they're not gonna be prepared. If I'm like 4-1, I'm like, holy crap, we should be ping. I should be pinging right away. Even in champions, like I should be like level 1 invade, level 1 invade, level 1 invade. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Once we get into game, like ping, 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 like the way I want to go. Like I want to make sure everyone goes so we can get
Yeah.
freaking like 3 kills right at level 1 for a Lee Sin jungle or something, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but you made a good point. Like they might not level up that hard TC. So Lux, I would even consider like not having started that Q because she probably leveled up E right after she got out of the base. So like that's even better for us.
Yeah, or like you invade a Vi and she's not gonna have her Q. She has her W or E because she was thinking about jungle clear.
Yeah, exactly. Ah, level 1 invade, guys, in LOLA community games always. Go freaking like go 5-man bottom bush or something like that. Oh my goodness.
Go big or go home.
We did not. I don't think we saw one level 1 fight.
I
LOLA
left
tournament.
after, except for I only missed the last 2 games, but I didn't see any while I was there.
Yeah, I don't think there were any in the other games. So that
Man.
was that was my only disappointment to you guys. Thank you for showing up. You guys were fun, but I'm very disappointed that there was no level 1 action. I was really disappointed. So
Yeah.
next time this happens.
And one thing, like to kind of wrap up this list a little bit, everything that we talked about kind of like ties into one major thing, which is like critical thinking about your game. Like stacking CC, like thinking about how you want to stack CC, like and how you want to prioritize items, that all plays into what your win condition is. I want to stack CC on this person correctly because that means we'll kill that person and that means we'll win the game. I want to itemize correctly so I can do the most damage and I can live through team fights so then we will win this game. I want to understand how to play my champion so I can do the most damage, kill the people, and win this game. All of these things come down to one thing, winning the game. So if you slowly work on each individual detail, it'll slowly push your game forward as a whole.
Yeah. And if you quickly work on it and you grind out games, you'll reach that faster too. I
Yeah, and
think that's something to realize that's like, I want to hit gold. So I'm going to play one game a week, but it's okay because I really want to hit gold. So I'm going to hit it. Oh, my teammates suck. Gosh. It's like, no, you need to put the effort. We talked about this on a previous episode. You need to put the effort for whatever your goal is actually going to be. So,
yeah, and
yeah.
thinking about like, oh, like yeah, maybe your teammates did really suck that game, but know what else probably sucked? Your ward placement. Or how you prioritize his objective during that game. There was something about your own game that sucked. It's true for all of us. There's always at least one thing. So, and focusing, we've talked about this before on the podcast, like focusing one thing at a time helps you improve so much faster because it's really hard to say, I'm going to get better at League of Legends. I'm going to go play a game and I'm going to play better. Like, okay,
Mhm.
what does that mean, really, though? Like, if you just say it in a broad term, like, you might go play a game, you get frustrated, and you quit. But if you go into the game saying, okay, this game, I'm going to really focus on, after every team fight, I'm going to focus on being the shot caller for our team of what objectives we take. And then, after 3 or 4 games, it's second nature to you going to an objective, pinging it out, like, directing your team to it. And now, you go on to the next thing, and that thing still sticks for the rest of your games.
Yeah.
And that just,
There's a-
that'll slowly climb you up the ladder of your knowledge of League and how well you play the game, rather than just, oh, I want to get better.
Yep, yep, yep. All right, so that concludes our discussion about the LOLA tournament. It was super fun. Thanks for everyone that ended up showing up and signed up. We had, like I said, we had about 15 people come in. It was a lot of fun. If you guys didn't hear about it, sorry, we kind of kept it kind of under wraps because uh we were worried that it was gonna like it might be too hard to coordinate, and we're kind of really testing the waters. So we only posted on our social media. So if you missed out, you definitely should be following us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram if you want to. If you use Instagram, we post on there a little bit. But Facebook and Twitter are really really big. Um, we have our Facebook page and our Facebook group. Our Facebook group is awesome because we can like actually talk and have like nice conversations. Facebook page is more of posting announcements and stuff like that. So get involved in those so you can get like these announcements when we decide to do things like, you know, randomly, or we just start streaming, or like it's like, oh, we forgot we're gonna do this tomorrow, like
Yeah.
go do it, or like
The Discord is
a
always
lot of
updated too. Discord is a great
oh
place to
yeah, yeah,
be.
absolutely. And it's a good place to meet and hang out with the community, and that's what we're all about. So again, thank you for all the people that participated. It was fun. Can't wait to do it again. Really
Hell
excited
yeah.
about it. Excuse me. Um, with that, we have another iTunes review. Do you want to take that one out?
I
While I
will.
cough my lungs out for a second.
We've got iTunes review titled One Episode by Sir Knee Games. And he said, all it took was one episode to hear that you are awesome people. Thanks for giving us a refreshing look at the game I've enjoyed for years. It can be difficult to see through the cloud of rage in the game and focus on improvement, so having your less biased thoughts is extremely helpful. You remind me of the days when I played with real life friends and norms. Jax plus Wukong bot lane waiting for someone to walk in the bush. OP.
That's awesome. He must have started
Yeah.
listening to an episode you were.
Maybe.
He's like, this Wormlax guy is pretty cool.
Yeah,
But little do they know, we just got him.
yeah, that I hear that happens a lot. That I join things and they just immediately get way better. I hear that happens a
Yeah.
lot. I have.
If we don't double our downloads by next month, you're fired.
Oh shit! All right. Well, I'm gonna start taking out some ad space on Google. Please share this with all your family members. I don't care who they are. Grandparents, they can listen. It'll be good.
Put it on repeat. Keep downloading it and undownloading it. If you want Wormlax to live, you will. It's like one of those old, like, if you don't send this to 3 friends, your mother will die today. Like, those old, like,
The chain
messages.
emails. Oh, I hated
Yeah.
those.
I see that every now and then. I've seen them on Twitter. I'm like, this is still happening? Like, what the hell?
Yeah,
Like, I'm
they
so
still
surprised.
happen. People are still out there thinking that if you don't retweet this 3 times, that you're gonna get haunted by some weird ghoul thing that's gonna suck your soul out.
Well, obviously, I've been approaching our advertising and marketing incorrect. We're
Yeah,
gonna have to get like Noel to Photoshop you like about to hang something. Be like, if this doesn't get 1,000 retweets by uh October 21st, the box will be gone and Alex will be hung.
that's like the things that are like my teacher said if I get 1,000 retweets he won't make us take the test or something like that. I'll have to hold up a sign that says if I don't get 1,000 downloads I'll get fired from the Lola podcast.
And they'll take my webcam away.
How will you see my beautiful face?
Yeah. So thanks Cerny Games. Make sure I'm not sure who you are because iTunes names are sometimes different from the rest of the names. So if you're in Discord, like drop by our Discord, say hello, play some normal games with us. I will play Jax Wukong bot lane with you any day in a normal game.
Sam is ready to feed. He's ready.
I am ready to no. I'm ready to show you that Wukong support is amazing, just as amazing as my Pantheon support.
Ooh.
Actually, Wukong Jax does sound like a
That sounds
destructive
super
lane.
volatile. Actually, just tonight I played versus a Riven Yasuo lane. My teammate was playing Kog'Maw and I was playing Bard. We ended up winning that game because the rest of our team did well, but my Kog'Maw had a real bad time, just constantly
I was
getting
just thinking
jumped on.
exactly. I was thinking like if you have like that Ardent Sensor bot lane, like a hyper carry. So you have Kog'Maw and Soraka. They are totally done against a Jax Wukong lane. They would get destroyed.
Yeah.
So meta breaking, and then you put Lucian in the mid lane. All good.
Then you have your AD carry. Boom. Solved.
Easy game. I
Pro
have just solved
analyst
League of
right
Legends.
here. Sign him up.
Hire
Where's
me.
TSM? TSM, come on. We know TSM listens to this for all their meta changes. Come on, where are they at?
Yeah, if you see Pantheon support in Worlds, it's because they've been listening in before Pantheon support on Gigabyte Marines or something.
You know, with Gigabyte Marines, I wouldn't even be surprised.
Because it's actually secretly good. You're right.
Sure, that's the
All right.
reason.
Anyways, I have a long list of patrons. If you guys don't know, this show is supported by patrons, and I want to give a shout out to everyone that has supported us for the month of September. So it'll be a miracle if I don't cough during this. So
Do you want to give me the list?
I will do what I can, right? No, I'm gonna do this because I'm super appreciative for our patrons. So here it goes. Our patrons for September are Mr. Steal Your Core, Alex Fisher, AK3331, Inquisitor Kane, Raydoc, Fear My Bush, Black Android 96, Askley, Scriff, Chuggington, Ted Kamen, RM Azriel, Bulldog, Bulldoge, Bulldoge, I think, Blake Mushin, Jakey Poo, Reconnor, Flame 955, Idol Loki, Anna G, Dr. Ham, Big Dick Vic 42, Joshua Stewart, Dan Swing, David Quay, Not the Bees, Ice Orbs, Whoppy Floppy, Michael H, Ruku Egg, Brad Smith, Grumpy Conductor, Barnsey, Top Cat, Comeback X Kid, Nobody, Gunday Monday, Eric Wimmy, I Don't Love You, Emil Richter, Blackbeard Bandit, Cray, Gray White, and Dragon the Great. Thank you so much for being supporters. You guys have done awesome things like make sure that we can see Alex's beautiful face on webcam, as well as keep everything up and running and pay our poor video editor as I'm taking advantage of him financially
Also,
for a few times.
also, just to let you know, right as we're getting to the end of the podcast, the video quality has gone perfectly on Skype. Out of
Oh,
nowhere.
really?
Yeah, it looks really good right now. Right at the end.
My wife's upload is probably done.
The timing on that is just impeccable.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. You know, sometimes technical issues happen, and you just have to deal with it. Just like
Just
you're
the way
feeding
it is.
Kog'Maw against the Jax Wukong bot lane. Sometimes you just got to deal with it and carry those scrubs bot lane.
Just gotta overcome it. Get that S on Bard anyways, even with a feeding AD carry.
Did you really get an S on Bard on that?
I really did. I will
Wow.
say though, we had like a 7-0 Aatrox and like a 5-0 Syndra, so like the rest of the team was just smashing. It was only their bot lane, and even their Riven support had like 6 deaths. It was just their Yasuo that was getting really fed, but we shut him
That's
down.
funny.
It was fine.
All right, with that, I don't have any announcements except just make sure you tune in. We're doing live episodes on Thursdays nowadays, and I keep saying that, and that hasn't happened, but we're trying to do that. Other than that, jump in our Discord. We do community games on Wednesdays. Check out our Patreon if you want to support us as we're trying to up our video quality and the amount of videos we put out, and that's going to require paying our good friend Blaster Boy a little bit more because he's important and he does a really, really good job. Check out the videos that he's done. He did the hashtag Lola Plays video for August, as we're a little behind on things, but it looks awesome. Super happy to have him working on that. So yeah, that is it for this episode. Do you have anything else to say, Worm?
Nothing else to say. It was a fun shoutcasting the LOLA tournament. Hopefully we can do it again and maybe even get a little podcasting team on board at some point for
Ooh,
some
yeah,
game.
maybe. We're gonna do a raid boss next time.
Oh yeah.
You guys fight to get destroyed by Worm in the top lane. All right, with that being said, that is episode 160 of the Lola Podcast, and we will see you guys next week. Say bye.
See ya.
You weirdo. All right,
The
cool.
way you closed it out was "see you next week." I didn't think